Hello everyone, I am Holly and I am the maker here at Missouri River Soap, and in this video today I'm going to be making tallow soap. It's going to be epic, creamy, amazing, and I'm going to pop the recipe in the video description down below. Okay, so in this soap today, I'm very excited about this. Oh, interesting. I just realized something on the bottle. It says Redwood Hill Farm will become Mayenberg. Isn't that interesting? I'm quite intrigued by that. So I have used the Redwood Hill Farm goat milk kefir before, and I love it. It's actually very delicious too, and I will probably take the remainder of what I don't use into the house and we will finish that off so it's not wasted. And then I have been so excited to try this, and I have never been able to find it. Now I probably could have somewhere, but in general when I would look around I had not been able to find sheep milk yogurt. And so I was able to get, I think it's gonna focus, Bellwether Farm sheep milk yogurt. It is a full fat yogurt. Is this full fat? I think this is full fat too. Anyway, I have made unscented soap before with goat milk kefir and some other milks and yogurts, but I thought today a tallow soap, unscented, goat milk kefir, sheep milk yogurt. Doesn't that sound absolutely amazing? Now, I know a lot of people don't get excited about unscented soap. I adore it. It is my favorite. I've made so many different kinds of unscented soap. We've got crema cacao. We've got coconut and aloe. We've done banana buttermilk. What else have we done? We've done a lot of different ones though over the years. I've done like a triple butter, triple milk unscented soap, but I've never done a tallow. Now, I am not intending this to be a full-on tutorial. I am giving you kind of more details. You're going to find out some great information as you come along, but maybe if you're a beginner, you won't understand some things, and in that case, I recommend check out the video description below. Check out Muddy Mint, check out the Nerdy Farm Wife. There's a lot of introductory beginner soap making information out there for a beginner, someone who has not touched soap making before. Now, for this video, I'm going to be talking in percentages, so a batch can be scaled up and down. That's how we work it. I'm going to be soaping at 30% lye concentration. Now, I am using sodium lactate, and I'm using these milks, which means that even though I'm using it as, say, 5%, it's just a little under 5%. So let's just say 5% of my recipe based on the oil weight, because they're considered a liquid, I'm going to take that away from my water portion so that I can go ahead and add it in, because this is going to add water and we do not want our batch to be super loaded down with extra water so that it takes a long time for it to cure back out. If it does at all. If it's too loaded, it's going to be a soft batch of soap. I'm using a 6% super fat. That's what I pretty much use all the way across the board. I formulate all my recipes, whether, not salt recipes, because those are a whole different scenario. But I do formulate all of my recipes with the same general hardness, cleansing, all the things. So I stick with the 6% super fat. Now, you may ask, why don't you just do 100% tallow soap? I mean, that's what a lot of the homesteaders are doing. It's kind of becoming a fad. Well, let me explain. I don't like 100% tallow soap. I just don't like it. I'm sure people make lovely 100% tallow soap. So if you do, that's epic. I don't care for them. So I have mixed in a little bit of coconut. I've mixed in a little olive and shea and castor for the bubbly factor. And so it creates an amazing recipe that my customers love. I am normally a room temperature soap maker, but with working with this tallow batch, it's 70% hard oils, which means I need to work a little bit warmer because by the time I add these cooler things in, My lye solution has cooled down from this morning when I made it. We just don't need it to cause a false trace. It's just best to work with it a little bit warmer. Now, the other thing is that because we're not using any essential oils or fragrances or anything, it's actually going to take a little longer for the batch to come to trace. So it's actually okay to soap a little bit warmer. So that's what we're going to do today. If you have any questions, make sure that you pop those down in the comments for me. Be sure to check out the description though, because I may have already answered it for you there. This morning I mixed up the lye solution. I like to come out when nobody is going to be in and out of the studio. I pop a window open, I make my lye solution with my mask, and then I leave. And I just let it come down to room temperature. Today my room temperature is just below 70. Then later on, it actually was around 12:30 to 1, I went ahead and measured out my tallow and my shea butter and my coconut oil. I put those over on the stove to melt. And then once those were melted, and they got up to about 175 degrees, I brought them over. Basically, I take them off a little bit early before everything is melted and just let it continue to melt down. And then I added in my sodium lactate and my castor oil and my olive oil. That brought the temperature down to about 120. When I started this video about 15 minutes ago, my oils were about 112 degrees. They are now down to 97. So we really do need to get going here. Okay, so 5% of this batch would actually be 7.5 ounces. I'm doing 150 oil ounce batch, but I'm only using 6 today. So I'm going to put in this luscious goat milk kefir, 3 ounces. This scale is the KD8000, which is my favorite. Purchased on Amazon. Okay, we're done with that. Tear out the scale, and now we are going to add this amazing, ooh, that is creamy and so delightful. Look how luscious that is. That is dilly dang delightful. Ooh, I love this. I am a sucker for creamy milks and yogurts. Oh, they make such amazing soaps. I always add my milks and yogurts at a smaller amount, but I add them directly to my oils. And I have always soaked like that. That's what I like. Now, if you were using full goat milk, full, whatever, you would want to freeze those milks so that you can mix them in, your lye solution in with it. But because I'm only using a small amount, I'm just going to put it right in with my oils. Okay, I have suited up for safety. I've got long sleeves, I've got my gloves. I actually have my snow boots on, but I'm not going to show you those. And then I've got my goggles on. Super snazzy, I know, but we have to protect our eyeballs. They're the only ones we get. So I have popped this into the microwave for a very gentle warm up. I just don't want it to shock these oils and cause them to solidify right off the bat. That would be unpleasant. Soaping, even though this is unscented, soaping with all these little extras in like a hard oil based batch can be a little bit tricky. So you definitely have to pay attention to all the factors. So now we are going to blend this in with my handy dandy stick blender. We're going to swirl and we're going to tap so that we get the excess air out of this shaft. I had some significant crunchies form on my lye solution today. That's for two reasons. One, it's only 15 degrees outside and I opened the window, so it kind of rapidly cooled. And two, the water is reduced to accommodate all the extra goodies. My lye solution is at 75, so it hasn't even completely come down to room temperature. My oil scenario now is at 95 degrees. And that is going to be dandy. Just dandy. So I'm going to just strain this out. It's not going to amount to much overall, but we don't want those to go in just on the off chance that they were to not break down and create a lye pocket, etc. That would be quite unpleasant. It's just not worth the effort. So as you can see, there's really not much left. All right, so let's go ahead and bring this to emulsification. We can go a little bit further because we're not splitting it, we're not coloring it. We're just going to bring this to a lovely creaminess. Now I don't know if you noticed it, but the base turned just a little bit yellowy. And what's happening is that the lye solution is reacting with those creams and kind of, they're not scorching. They can scorch and that is not pleasant. But it's not scorching it here, but it is discoloring them as it reacts. So I initially count to 30 and then I count to about 15, and as we can see here, not a whole lot is happening. It's emulsified, but we're not really at a trace, and because I'm pouring this directly into the mold, I definitely want it at least a light trace, but I'll probably take it to a medium. Now it's starting to thicken up a little bit. Now we don't want this batch to get too warm, so I don't want to stick blend it too much because that does cause it to warm up further. I do want this to go through a gel, so I soap at room temperature for the ease of soap making, but I do want it to go through a gel, and it will go through a gel in my wood molds because they are insulate. What is an insulator? Oh yes, this is looking good. So I'm going to go ahead and take out my stick blender because this is coming right along. This is looking thick and creamy and luscious. Do you see that trace? This is at a medium trace moving to a thick trace. In my opinion, that's what I would call a medium. It's still workable, but it is getting pretty thick. Okay, let's go ahead and get this in the mold. Oh, it is creamy, dreamy. Oh, so luscious. This is working out wonderfully. We're going to give it a shimmy and a shake and a thump to work out any extra air bubbles. It's a little noisy, so I always cut out the volume a little bit so you're not... I always imagine somebody's watching my videos in the middle of the night when they're like laying in bed next to their loved one, or maybe they're rocking their baby, and I'm like, oh dear, I can't have that to be very loud. But that's what I envision. I have plenty of time to do extra scraping. Alright, I do want to texture this top. Let's see if it is quite ready to go. It's still a little bit soft. It's decently holding, but I don't know that it's where I quite want it to be yet. But let's see. Let's just do it. I'm trying to remember what I did on a... Yeah, this is just a little... I think my table has a little dip in it. Okay, this is just a little too thin. So I'm just going to kind of clean up and then I will come back. Alright, so let's try this again. I think this is a much better texture. So luscious. The tallow soap is just a little shinier than my regular recipe. I mean, my regular recipe is shiny. How am I trying to explain this? It's more glassy, maybe a smidgen less opaque than normal. I don't know what I did, so I'm just going to kind of give it a cute little texture and call it good. Now, soap does have to go through the saponification process, so I am just going to be I don't know if I like that or not, but there's really not much else to do with it. I'm going to clean the edges off. As I was saying, soap has to go through the saponification process. I'm going to lightly cover it and let it sit for, well, I probably won't get to this. This is a Sunday, and I probably won't get to it until a Tuesday. And then I will unmold it, and then we will slice it into loaves and then cut it into bars. But it's soft right now. It has to go, and within a 24-hour period, it needs to saponify and solidify. And that is the process of it making soap and doing its magic. Now, when we cut it, it's not ready. It has to cure. Soap, cold processed soap, has to cure. All there is to it. There is no getting around it. It's the way it is, and we do that for a minimum of 4 weeks. Alrighty then, I have another batch to do. I'm going to be making another tallow soap that is a customer request. It is going to be a lavender mint with a colloidal oatmeal and goat milk. However, I'm going to turn on some music and I'm going to jam away and have just, it's fun hanging out with y'all, but I love my music, and so I'm going to jam out, make another batch, and I'll see you in a couple of days. Okay, so it is time to unmold our epic unscented tallow soap. And we're actually just a little bit past time to do it. I got wrapped up in my release, and so I didn't quite get it done as early as I would have liked to. So we are going to take a gander here. It's looking good. Now I do spritz with alcohol to help prevent the ash, so you'll see some lines here but that's just from the alcohol. Just coloring it a little bit. Oh, that looks so good. Oh, I love it. It's so creamy and beautiful. Oh, it's delightful. There's real no noticeable scent other than just a natural unscented soap note scent. There's no scent added, obviously. I have my splitter here from Smith Creek Studios, and to my knowledge this is no longer available, but we're going to use this splitter to cut the loaves. Now, I always slice a little off the edge. That's how we make the mold sizes, so that I could slice this a little bit off. I use those as samples, and it just makes such a nice, clean edge, and I just prefer that. Oh, that looks good. It's just so creamy. So that will make great samples. And then I cut my loaves at 2.5 inches wide. They're 18 inches long. Since it stayed in the mold, it's not too hard. Ooh, the top looks fantastic. We'll get an up close view here in a moment. But we're going to just do this for now for the splitting. Oh, that's beautiful. Just beautiful. Well, these a little bit wide on this one, but that's okay. These will make nice chunky samples and testers for me as well. So I do still use the splitter then, and I take these pieces and then I use this contraption to go ahead and make these little samples. Always take a little bit off the ends because they're not even, and they are just samples, but I like to make a nice bar. And so we're just making little 2-inch samples. This one is a little thicker, but that's fine. I put those in orders that maybe they've ordered a little bit extra. A little bit more than some smaller ones, I guess I should say. Alright, so now we're going to cut the loaves into bars. Look at that top. Isn't that just really pretty? It just turned out so great. It's just creamy and lovely. I have my 1-inch cutter here from Buds on Etsy. And I love my Buds cutters. I do leave just a little bit on each end here. And so we are just, ooh, it's a little bit hard. It is a tallow, has a lot of hard oils in it. Oh, that's lovely. I am a sucker for a creamy white bar soap, and it's not white, but it is very creamy and beautiful. Look at it. Oh my goodness. I love it so very much. I'm not going to clean off my wires just because I am going to bevel these bars and it's just going to come off anyway. It's very simple and plain, so I don't really need to concern myself with it on a batch like this. I get 34 bars from this size, I have a feeling we're gonna love this one as much as we love crema cacao. Just a good old-fashioned but luxuriously made unscented tallow soap. You can't go wrong. As much as we love our fragrances and essential oils, sometimes our skin, we just need to reset. We need the simplicity, and I love an unscented soap. So the next part of the process is to line the soap bars onto a tray so that they can go on the curing rack and cure for 4 to 6 weeks. I have a little plastic tray here, and I line it with parchment paper, and we're just going to line these bars up. I will probably be a little bit more particular than I should. Let me think. I think I'm going to actually start on this end, because this is how I'll probably put my tray in. So we'll just start over here, and it's pretty simple. I just line them up. Now, it's very important for soap to cure. What it's going to do in that window of curing, the soap is going to evaporate excess moisture, and that's going to help to make a harder bar of soap that's going to last longer. A waterlogged soap is not going to lather very well, and it is just going to get mushy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And so that's not an ideal situation. So not only in this time frame is it going to evaporate the excess moisture, but it's also going to work its magic. There's a process post main saponification where the oils and the lye combine together in a chemical reaction to make the soap. It still is going to continue its scientific magic over the next several weeks. It'll create a bar that is more gentle. I don't know the right wording for it. I go back and I read about it, and then I never remember it. So I will try to put a link in the description that you can go read all about the curing process. I wish you could feel this texture right now. I make a lot of unscented soaps, but the tallow, this one just has an amazing texture. And I don't know what to compare it to, but it is just dandy and delightful. I cannot wait to lather test this soap, and if I remember, I will try to do that for you on video and insert it into this one as well. So here we have our dandy little tray of soap. I'm pretty sure that I am going to have to make a bigger batch another time. Whoa, it's always slippy and slidey, but look at it. Isn't it wonderful? Onto the curing rack it goes. Okay, so it has been quite some time since I made this soap. It's been a couple of months. The soap has been listed. It is now sold out, and I have another batch curing. This batch has turned out to be, I think it's my favorite. I think it's my favorite over figgy cream, over crema cacao. It is, at this point, it has gone to my #1 soap of all time. I adore it. So let's move over to the sink and do a lather test. I have my little piece here at the sink, and I'm going to turn the water on and leave it on, so it's going to be a hint noisy. It is just so incredibly creamy. It lathers wonderfully. Look at that. I adore this soap. It has turned out to be so incredibly spectacular. It is the creamy factor. The way it just slides and glides is really extra special. I formulate my soaps to have simple bubbles that can be reactivated, that is not going to over cleanse the skin. There's a nice balance between conditioning and cleansing. Is not huge on the bubbles. Usually huge bubbles means your cleansing factor is high and it's a bit uncomfortable to use overall. But to each their own, of course. This is what I love. I hope that you have enjoyed this video, the making and the cutting of our epic tallow unscented soap. Be sure to check out the video description below for more information. I hope that you will hit the like button and leave me a comment. Subscribe if you haven't already. And take note that you can follow us along over on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.